Mats, can you hear us already?
Oh, yes.
Oh, there you are. Hey, welcome. It's good that you're there. It's good, nice. Thank you for taking the time and being with us here. And as we did in the times before, I suggest that we start with playing a little bit and then we come to talking about music later.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow. That's so strange. I have to say to everybody who's listening and watching that Mats and me, we actually never met. I saw you several times in performances, Mats, but we never met. We talked a little bit briefly through Skype. And this is such a great thing to come together, and even through these weird conditions and in this strange environment that we are able to come up with this kind of music.
Yeah.
And I wonder, Mats, of course we're improvising. We're both used to improvising. We are both kind of refer to the same backgrounds. But would you say that improvising is a way of communicating with everybody, with from whatever backgrounds, whatever genres, whatever musical styles people come, that the improvising is kind of a common ground we can meet?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the whole nature of why I'm doing this kind of music, because it's all about communication. It's a funny situation now, since we did a sound check, but I keep hearing a shadow of myself with a half a second delay now when we're actually playing. So this is improvising for real. It would have been very difficult to play any other kind of music. But no, I mean, improvising and communication that's a very human thing. And I love doing the research. And doing research, you have to be curious and you have to be open to new things and new people and new music, of course.
Yeah, curiosity actually is a term we come up a lot talking here with people. Also, last week we talked to some curators who said that curiosity is kind of a main thing that drives them. But still, now we are referring kind of to the same listening experience, and I think the listening experience that is the background is kind of also a main source for you in your development, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's if you lose your curiosity, it's over. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself when I make music. I mean, that I would do a different kind of music in that case.
Which actually is very difficult. I remember you reading something from you saying we are in a post age, so everything already happened. So we kind of pick things from all kind of backgrounds, and so we kind of repeat anyway, even though if we try to come up with new ideas, right?
Yeah, I mean, we repeat bits and pieces, and I think that's the beauty of the whole process, that you can pick whatever bits and pieces you want and you can put them together in a new way or in a different way. But it's dangerous when you start to put together things the way you did yesterday. Then you're pretty fucked in my ears. So it's a never-ending research, and I'm always curious what will happen next. You know.
Yeah. Well, of course, that means the same for me. I could just unterschreiben. I'm also with you on that point. Yeah. When I was reading a little bit about your upcoming as a musician, I thought it's interesting that you mentioned Harald Hunt as one of your mentors. And as far as I understood, he owns a record shop in your hometown, right?
Yeah, no, he passed away 2 years ago, actually. But he was my mentor and my teacher in everything. And for him, it was all about listening. And he had a record shop, I think the best record shop ever in Europe when it comes to jazz and improvised music. And everyone that ever been there have the same experience. You were all tested when you entered the shop. So he would be playing something in the speakers to check you out, who you are. And the key was, is this girl or guy curious or not? Because some collectors are just collecting because the act of collecting, and some people care about the music, you know. And sometimes those things are combined. But if you didn't pay attention, you would never get a good deal, and you would never get the coffee in the shop. But he taught me everything that I know about jazz, and I maybe taught him a little bit about improvised and contemporary music. But his knowledge in jazz was absolutely phenomenal. But it's all not in the headphones; it's all in the ears, underneath the headphones.
Yeah, I mean, then jazz is one of the sources, but there's you also have been growing up with punk music, which is another source which one can hear very strongly in your, especially in some of your bands. So there's different backgrounds and different sources where you pull your music from, right?
Yeah, and that's the whole post thing that I'm referring to. I mean, jazz from the beginning, from New Orleans and onwards, it was a kind of a straight evolution, so to speak, up to free jazz and fusion being the other, like opposite. And after that, you only have post this and post that. So it's more the matter of how you put it together. And I think you shouldn't limit yourself only to jazz-related music. There's so much amazing music, especially in the world music vein. It never ends. And some of the most amazing music I ever heard in my life is, ethnic music that sounds like it could be contemporary written music sometimes. So you have to go and look for it, and I look for it on vinyl.
Yeah, and I don't want to go too much into this labels, because labels just like keep us into some frontier. We don't need this. So but there's one thing before I would ask you to play a little more. There's one thing that also stuck in my head reading about you. You keep mentioning the term resistance. Music is a act of resistance. Could you just say something about this term you use?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. I mean, what we're doing and what I'm interested in is not mainstream. It doesn't belong in mainstream media or mainstream music or anything. And I think if you do this kind of music with all the sacrifices and shit you have to attach to it, and knowing that it's all about real communication, it turned into an act of politics, basically. And politics is, for me, resistance. It should be, at least. But we're living in a weird time at the moment where politics and moral and ethics is not as valid as it used to be. I mean, you look at Trump and you have the best example ever. It's okay to lie. I mean, what is that? So yeah, this music is all about resistance. It will never become mainstream.
You also said in another interview, you said it's not meant to please.
No, I mean that's why there's so many other people trying to please. I mean, it's better to stir the shit up and to stir things up, to present music or ideas that actually makes people think. And if they can start to think, they can start to act. So it's a pretty simple mechanic, and maybe it sounds a bit naive, but I really believe in it, and that's the way it was for me when I grew up. And hopefully the kind of music that we are doing can raise some questions and people can go and find their answers themselves.
That's what I think is interesting, is we are not playing music to please, but still we are trying to play beautiful music. So the term beautiful kind of gets a different thing. And that brings me to a question. You have brought out a record with solo pieces, which is really very beautiful. Not only this one, but this one especially. And I thought maybe you could play a little bit of a solo for us, which is, in my view, when we improvise, we are even communicating when we play solo. We're kind of communicating with ourselves and with the music.
Of course, and the situation you're in and the people around you. Now it's online around you, but it's still around you. Yeah. Sure.
Yes, so let's hear that. Thank you. Yay!
Oh, yeah.
Well, you saw. I don't know if you saw me dancing.
What dancing?
I was dancing. Beautiful.
Sorry.
Really
Sorry.
beautiful. No, don't. It's very nice. So this record I really recommend to everybody who wants to listen to more of this. It's called Torturing the Saxophone. Great collection of tunes and things, also with electronics. So many things I would like to get into, but I have to stay focused. So there's one thing I'd like to talk about. Now we heard you solo. I know a lot of your trio works, like with the Sing and with the Fire and stuff. But you're also doing big ensembles, and in Monheim you're going to be part of a big ensemble. Is that a completely different approach, playing in a bigger group with musicians?
Not a completely different approach. It's all about interaction and communication, of course. But as soon as you play in a larger context, it gets more and more important with what kind of rules are set up and what kind of context you are trying to reach. So to play free improvised music in a large group is, of course, suicide, basically. But it can be done. I mean, we know historically there's some ensembles that actually pull that off, but it's very rare. It usually gets just very dense and very stupid and very loud. And since Monheim is in Germany, I mean, the master for me in with this music is Günther Christmann, of course, from Hanover. that is real free improvised music, and no matter if it's solo or if it's 15 people, it's all super clear, super focused, amazing. But I mean, when I lead fire orchestra or I do my own new ensemble, I'm also interested in composition, of course, and to see how preset ideas and mechanics can work together with improvisation. It always has to be the meeting and the collision of set up things and open things. So I found it very, very interesting. And the more I do this kind of music, the more curious I am about the larger context, I have to say. So to work with like a symphony orchestra is completely amazing. But it needs some work, of course.
Yeah, it's interesting because as a leader, I guess you kind of have an idea, but you never can be sure if it comes out just the way you thought, and you have to kind of react all the time also to what, even though if you put your compositions on the stand, right?
Yeah.
Like when I saw you with New Ensemble, you did a lot of conducting and a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean that's one tool. I mean, it's all about tools in a way. When it's a bigger ensemble, you control the ensemble either with the spoken instructions, or you have a score and you can set it really perfect and exact and everything. What I found very useful with the kind of music I'm researching is instant conducting, of course. So over the years, I set up a lot of different ways of conducting an ensemble, and it's always interesting to see other people doing the same thing with ensembles, because there's a certain similarity in the science, but it's like a different dialect. But I found it very useful. I mean, so most of my larger compositions always have like a graphic score and conductions. That's the two basic tools I'm using, and then you can add whatever you want to that.
And Sofia has also been part of your new ensemble, right? So you've been collaborating with her before.
Oh yeah, and she is also part of we have a new group called The End, which is a very suitable name and very Google unfriendly, of course. But no, Sofia is amazing, and with this quintet we are working, it's 3 Norwegian musicians: Kjetil Møster, Anders Hahn, and Børge Fjordheim. She really is using her capabilities. She is absolutely extraordinary, and it's great to hear her in a smaller context, as well as it is to have her in the fire orchestra, of course. Mm-hmm. But I have to say, I'm extremely curious to hear and see what she will do with in this Monheim Triennale thing.
So as far as I understood, she did this concept before with the children choir, but you've not been part of that ensemble, right?
Nothing.
Yeah, I was also very curious to hear that. As I said before, I was busy putting together the children choir in Monheim, so I'm really hoping that this is going to happen again next year.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. It has to.
Yeah, well, the time is running out a little bit, but since we were talking about the big ensembles, one question that concerns me a lot, or I'm thinking about that a lot, is you meet some people like we meet first time we just play, but you have ensembles like The Thing, which is working since 20 years, and that must be a completely different way of improvising if you know people so well, so you kind of have to avoid your own cliches and stuff. But that's still something you would like to emphasize as a part of your work, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's now The Thing is over, actually, since 1.5 years. We see what happens in the future. We have no idea. But it's extremely important for me to have both things. I mean, new meetings like right now, and also have the working groups. So Fire and Fire Orchestra is 2 of the working groups I'm doing at the moment. And the other is The End with Sofia. And then there's one more new group with David Grubbs and Rob Masurik that I'm very excited about, called The Underflow. So it's very important to have that. You meet a bunch of times every year and you work on materials or specific ideas. And then you meet after another couple of months and you can work again and see how that explores. So it's very important to have continuity, I would say. So I need both. I need to have the working group, and I need to have the more open new meetings and everything. They both feed each other, and I think that's a beautiful thing philosophically.
That makes perfect sense. And with just one more thing, with the Fire Orchestra, I found that you worked on a Christoph Penderecki piece, right? That was also very interesting. I didn't hear the whole thing yet, but I heard a little bit. So is that going to happen again? Do you plan to do that again?
Yeah, there are plans, but of course with this current situation, we have no idea if it will happen. But there is plans for the fall, for November, to perform this piece again. It's an amazing piece with a very amazing history. You know, the background of the piece is
definitely. I would
amazing.
recommend to everybody to check out the original from the 72, I think, with Don Cherry and
71
wow. Or 71, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Don Cherry was not part of the ensemble, but he put the group together, and it was based on group unity, basically. So basically the same musicians, but Penderecki basically had instructions and texts for them to adopt to, and then he was like conducting, but it was all pretty messy, as I understood, from musicians that were in the ensemble. But it turned out into some amazing piece of music, you know. No matter it was not made in. It didn't come out in the way that it was intended to be. And then I was asked to make a different reading, a new reading of the piece from this Sacrum Profanum festival in Krakow, and we extended the piece. It's just a 15-minute piece, but we made it a 40-minute. LP-friendly sized piece. So yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about trying to get this together again.
Yeah, great. I hope I have a chance to hear that maybe next year. Who knows? At some point. Mats, thank you so much for your time. How about like finishing with a little piece together and then call it a day? Beautiful. Thank you very much, Mats.
Thank you. Good to see you.
All the best to you. Take good care. Stay healthy. And next time we meet, we'll be in the same room.
See you in Monheim.
See you in Monheim. Thank you so much, Mats. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.